Hello everyone, it's me, Coffee Stitcher. It is Sunday. Yes, it is Sunday. Sunday by the blue. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. Sorry. A little bit of song time for you this morning. How's everybody's week? Awesome, it's good to hear. I'm wearing my new Dear Evan Hansen hoodie. It's very soft and comfortable. Not so great for warm when it's really cold and windy out, but for around the house or mild weather, it's nice. I have a boo-boo. I got a paper cut on my stitching finger. Not easy to stitch with a Band-Aid. Did take it off yesterday to stitch, but then I had to put it back on. I'm hoping it clears itself up soon. It was a bad paper cut too. Like it was bad. All right, so I'm apparently all over the place this morning. So we've got haul. We have Q&A. We have a finish. We have an FFO. And we have whips. Plus some general discussions. So let's get started. Okay, so of course always the good old Q&A. Melissa Johnson, we actually did look at the option for a mat, and ultimately decided against it. So we with the frame we picked, we couldn't find a mat that was going to work. So, but I did actually look into that. So I do appreciate that suggestion very much. Oh, good Lord. There we go. This could be a little bit of a challenge because you're supposed to use these two fingers, but of course I'm not going to get anything off of that for my laptop. Okay. Loretta Armburster asks, is the Nevermore alphabet variegated? And it is. It's royal purple from Gentle Arts. And I've got a couple different skeins. As we all know, Gentle Arts is not the most consistent in their color. So here is the skein I'm using. And it doesn't show up too well here. It's much darker in person, but it's not overly variegated. It's a more subtle variegation, which was what I wanted. So that's the color I'm using for it. All right. I'm guessing it's Jenna, but it may be Gianna or Gina. Gorsick asks, do you schedule your stitching time? If so, how? You really get a lot done in the week. And the answer is no, I don't. I generally, I get an hour for lunch at work that I'm required to clock out for. So if I don't go buy my lunch, generally I end up with about 30 minutes, roughly, of stitch time at lunch. And then when I get home at night, most of the time, we aren't, because my other half teaches, and we both work during the week, we don't tend to go out on weeknights. So unless there's something specific that we need to go out and do, we're gonna be home. And we usually, he has work to do, and then he likes to read, and then we'll watch some TV together. So that time after dinner is just for whatever I want to do. So that's when I get my stitch time. So basically, if I'm home and we're not doing something, I generally am stitching. So it's not scheduled. Every once in a while, we'll do something like, this week there was one night where I said, hey, you keep reading, I need to keep stitching because I got to get this finished. But generally, there's not anything scheduled. Apollonia, happy belated birthday. She says, what is your, she's got two questions. What is your favorite fabric that you like to do your projects on? I generally go for 32 count. That's pretty much the only real, 28, 32 are my standards. I really like even weaves, I really like linens, and I'm getting back into Aida. So if I was gonna pick one where if someone said, look, you are going to only ever stitch on this ever again, never anything else, probably I would go with 32 count Joblin. I like the feel of Joblin, and I like that 32 you can usually get things on a fat eighth, so it costs me less. Her second question, if you can have one thing in the world, what would it be? Well, of course, there's the part of me that goes, oh, world peace. That's the idealist in me. The practicalist in me says, for my student loans to be paid off. Yeah. And then the frivolousness of me, if I could have one thing in the world, what would it be? It would be my own Tony Award for starring as Dolly Levi in Hello Dolly, or The Witch and Into the Woods. And then in the more practical yet frivolous side of me, oh gosh, I don't know. Probably the Wicked Witch's Hourglass from The Wizard of Oz, or a replica thereof. Parkhopper Bart, thank you for the suggestion. I'll have to look at art to frame for some of my oddball things. I want to start Alice Quaker, but I sent my copy to Cheryl, the Wayward Stitcher, so I can't start it till I get it back from her. But that's fine, because I'm not anywhere near finished with Quaker Oz. Although, you'll see it some today. But I'll definitely look into that site. Thank you for the suggestion. Michelle Whitehead, you actually asked me a question that I get asked a lot. Not on here, but in in the Hufflepuff chat and other places. How do you keep track of your stitches, like the 600 for the trapped people? My general rule of thumb is every time I change threads, because I don't really do anything monochromatic, so every time I change threads, I count up where I'm at, and then I keep the calculator app just with a running total. And then sometimes I overshoot the 100, sometimes like if I come up and I'm at like 82, then I know I'm going to have more than that in whatever color I'm starting, then I'll count until I hit 100 and then take a picture. But that's how I do it. I find that's the easiest way for me to keep track, is to count as I change threads. And I'm sure there are other ways of doing it, but that's how I do it. I think there's a little thing you can get on your finger. I've seen, I think Soldier Stitching, or Stitcher, I can't remember what Shannon uses for her name. It's either Stitcher or Stitching, or Stitches. Anyways, she, I think, has a little device thing that you wear on your finger that's like a ring that supposedly counts your stitches somehow. And I think Kate, the Queen of Starts, has one too. But don't quote me on that. But I think they might have something like that. But I don't typically, when I'm stitching, I tend to take pretty much every ring except my wedding ring off. And a lot of times the rings are really the first thing that come off when I get home. Off comes the jewelry. Because I love me some chunky jewelry, and that's not easy to stitch with. Oops, sorry. Yes, I did just apologize to my table for bumping it. Well, hello, Tiffany. Yes, definitely be glad you joined. Can't wait to see more. And I'm glad, which, by the way, I want to give her a little bit of a shout out, mostly because it's fresh on my mind, but homegirl Tiffany is brand new to stitching, and she tackled on Aida 1/1 petite stitches for a Jim Shore Santa kit that she's doing, and they looked amazing. And that's not easy to do. So, bravo to Tiffany. Gordon, please join us. It's fun. Cross-stitching is awesome. You can message me if you have questions. And I'll do what I can to help. Patricia Kazmarek asks, are you using the called for threads on your quilts piece? It's really pretty and is not a long dog design I'm familiar with. Hope you have a great week. I am with a caveat. Okay, so it's a chart that's done in all Gentle Arts. One of the Gentle Arts colors has been on back order for like a year and a half. So I had to substitute. I'm using, and I don't have it in front of me, I'm using a Classic Colorworks for that. So that one had to be substituted. That one was a substitution, not by choice. Actually, both of them were. The other one was my skein of claret was not terribly variegated at all. Like, it's mostly just the darker shade. And when I went to buy a new skein, because it needed more than one, all of them were like super variegated. Well, by that point, I'd already started using it. So instead, I'm using a Classic Colorworks that's pretty close to what it is. So those two were kind of forced substitutions. Not necessarily willing, but forced. So there you go. I hope that answers the question. All right. And I think that's it for the Q and the A. My apologies to Long Dog for my slip up there. Thankfully, I did not mark this as a, whatchamacallit, as safe for kids. Okay, so that's the Q&A. So let's hop on over to the haul. So this week's haul, where did I put it? Yep, here we go. Is courtesy of Ship's Manor. I did some fabric ordering. So I got a piece of mummy wraps. And this is 32 count Joblin mummy wraps. So it's kind of a fun, sort of dirty primitive. Initially I had ordered it for something different, but looking at, I think this will work for over the garden wall. But I may also use it for something else. It's not when I'm going to commit to a project. So we shall see what happens there. All right. Then I got a piece of Many Waters, also 32 count Joblin. And these are all fat eighths. So here's that. It's showing up, the green is showing up much, much stronger on here than it does in person. There's it. And Eric got these out fast. He said it was because because when I had ordered was after Fabric of the Month had already gone out. So he wasn't doing the December ones yet. But I placed the order, I think, on Friday of last week, and they were here yesterday. So, really fast. And then I got two pieces of 16 count Aida. I got Sea Serpent, with no definite plans for it, one way or the other. And this is a really strong case. I should have grabbed, in fact, I will real quick. Hang on. We're going to do a fun game of comparison. Hang on. I know right where I'm grabbing. Okay. So, this one I bought with an actual project in mind. So this is going to be for the Frosted Pumpkin Nutcracker Parade. This is Silvery Moon. So it's a little more blue in person, but I thought I would show to kind of compare. This was Silvery Moon in Joblin. So, and that's what I did Cheshire Moon on. So here's the difference in how Aida died versus Joblin. So that I thought was kind of cool. It was a lot darker than I expected it to be, but then I remembered, oh yes, Ada takes dye darker than an even weave does because of the fact that Ada is 100% cotton. So I thought that was just kind of cool. So it's, like I said, it was bluer than I expected, but I think it's still going to look really good with those bright colors that Frosted Pumpkin likes to use. So, all right. So that was the haul for the week. All right, so I'll show you my 2 finishes. We'll talk a little bit about homework. How do I want to do this? No. Okay, so next, I guess there was a little other sort of haul generally discussions. Modern Folk Embroideries 2020 Sal was announced, and it was, I wasn't going to initially do more than just try and keep up with the Stitch Your Own Adventure Hogwarts one. But that one is really cool. It's got all sorts of, there's a picture on his website of it. I don't really even quite know how to describe it because I don't do these traditional sort of samplers, but I really liked the look of this one. So that starts on January 1st. So this kind of actually will lead me to what I'm going towards, actually. So that was announced. Stitching Book Club is finishing up their last book club list discussion, and then the 2020 ones will be announced. So I'm excited for that, too. So last Sunday, I sat down, and I went through... I'm caught in my cup. There we go. Went through my whips. My intent was I was going to load all my whips into the decision wheel because I wanted to start trying to access more of what I've got going that I'm just not working on. I stopped because I got to a larger number than I wanted to get to. And that was before I added them all. Yeah. Yeah. So, we've come to a new decision in terms of homework and in terms of how I'm handling things. So, if I have a project that I know immediately needs to be used for a specific homework assignment, and I'll, case in point, this week, one of the assignments is to work on a project that would be considered twins, so they share the same designer, same theme, etc. If I know something specific, then I'll do it for that. Otherwise, we'll spin the decision wheel and let it choose. Officially, I will do penalty stitches for everything. And no starts until I finish it. So for every 3 projects I finish, I can start something. We'll see how well I do at that, but I'm really going to try on that. Because my starts are just getting out of hand. My whips are just getting a little out of hand again. So, that being in mind, Modern Folk Embroidery will be my New Year's new start. I think. I may change my mind between now and then, we'll see. But yes. So, that's kind of where we're at for that. So, I guess let's go ahead and do the homework discussion. And what we worked on. So, for week 5, the first thing we had to work on was our second favorite whip. Which in my case was quilts. I got 434 stitches in, which means that, oops, shift that just a little. I got the hearts done on that page, and I got almost all of this side border done. There's a little bit more higher than that, but the border gets interrupted by one of the trees. So I just sort of left it there because that was a good natural stopping point for it. So that's what I worked on for quilts. So that was for the second favorite whip. This also means one of the things I'm doing, unless it's a week where we have more than 7 projects that we have to work on, it means that I'm just going to work on one project each day, and then I'll move. Now, the second one was an interesting item that related to Luna Lovegood and her father. And since I did penalty stitches, I didn't try and explain this one. So I did 351 stitches on Paradise Lost, and I still didn't get that cloud done. So here it is. Here's where I'm at on it. So I got a good chunk of the cloud filled in, because before I started it, I was over here. So I'm about halfway there. And then I got the skin and the gold part of the angel holding the banner done. So I think the next time this one comes out to play, we will finish both the angel and the cloud. There's still a bird that has to be stitched before it's a page finish, but that at least will hopefully finish out the cloud. And then there's not a lot of the cloud that's on the other side. It's only really, I think, a handful of stitches, if that many. Let's see. Yeah, it's not that many. The banner is still there that has to be done, but really and truly, once the banner and the cloud are done, I think this project will really start to kind of fly by, because that's kind of it for the real big awful parts. And I don't mean awful, but just the parts that I struggle with, because it's a whole lot of one color. Okay. Ouch. Alright. It was then that I realized about Wednesday. So that was, Monday was, well, I need to show you what I worked on last Sunday. So Monday was, quilts. Tuesday was Paradise Lost. Wednesday, I was talking to someone and I realized that we had literally 21 days, 3 weeks till Christmas. And I was like, I still have to finish G's gift. So that took up the rest of the week. So, and it was penalty stitches across the board. But we have a finish. Ta-da! This is by Dusky Stitches on Etsy. Again, I did tweak the reds. I also had an unintentional tweak on the eye. I didn't realize when I did this one, the one on the left, that I actually misjudged I grabbed the wrong color when I started, so I had to adjust to do the same thing over here. So really, there's actually supposed to be more of this lighter outlined gray, or the one that's up here, on this side, but to make it not look so weird, I had to do it that way. And I had a lot of I had some counting errors on the eye that I just did. That one was, so we had some struggles, but it's done. And initially I was gonna have it framed at Michael's so that it could be back by Christmas, but after discussing it with G, we both sort of agreed that I would feel better taking it to Stitch Niche, partially because it's white and I trust Steve with white fabric, where I don't necessarily trust just anyone at Michael's. And he agreed, so he was okay with the fact that it won't be back before Christmas. So it is still his Christmas present, though. One of them, at least. Alright. So, that was how I did that, and did all the assignments. I did the 600 bonus, and then I still had, I think, like 200 more after that. So I did like had over 1,000 stitches, which those eyes were surprisingly dense. Alright, so Sunday I worked on the Lizzie Kate Spirit of Christmas, and I didn't get very far. I got the roof of the house done, and then decided that I was tired of working on it, because that roof was a beast. So I worked on that. That one. Set you over here because I'm done talking about you. I worked on Quaker Oz. So I finished out the Wicked Witch's dress after I did my little froggy frog. So there is the dress for the Wicked Witch of the West. Alright, so that sort of leads me to this week's homework. So the first thing is we had to work on twin projects. So because Ollivander explains to Harry that his wand and Voldemort's wand, they have the same core. And that's why Voldemort's not able, part of why Voldemort's not able to defeat Harry, and Harry vice versa. So we're supposed to work on two projects that are twins, and the most logical choice was Quaker Oz. We're supposed to do 200 stitches. Penalty stitches is 250, so we will be doing 250 minimum on these. So Quaker Oz and the Leslie Tier Oz. So I'm thinking that because it ended up not getting worked on. I'm thinking 400 or 250 will get me fairly close. It'll at least finish out Toto and I think Dorothy. It may even get the and hopefully a little of the Yellow Brick Road, but we shall see. All right. So that's the first thing. Then the next one is because we break into Gringotts to get Hufflepuff's cup from the Lestrange vault. And there's two spells that get used in it that are stacked on top of each other. There's the Gimino and the Flagrante. Gimino doubles everything you touch. And then Flagrante causes it to burn you. So, and I spun the wheel for these. So this was not intended at all. But the wheel picked for Gimino the Weasley twins. You know, because they're one person doubled. So we'll work on probably Fred's scarf. I'll probably finish out that. And then it picked Summer Patchwork off of the wheel. So I'm going to say that because, even though there's not anything in here, it's called Summer Patchwork. So it's summer themed. And there is a cupcake. So since you have to use the oven, and since a lot of people grill out in the summer, we're going to say that's what the heat is. You have to be careful not to burn your cupcakes. But since I'm doing penalty stitches, if my reason's not good enough, well, I still did the penalty stitches, so I still get the points. Alright, then the project next is a project that must be finished as soon as possible, and that is because Voldemort is searching, trying to get to the last Horcrux before Harry does to protect it. So Woodland Fairy, because I really wanted to finish it by the end of the year, but double Christmas presents kind of waylaid that, so we'll work on her wings some more. And then the bonus, because of the dragon we rescue, which I'm sure will make Charlie Weasley very happy, we can either stitch on a project with a dragon in it, but since I don't have any of those, the other option was spelling dragon. So starting a project with one of the letters in it. So I've got Nevermore. And it's going to be 200 stitches, which I think will finish out the alphabet. Or if not, it'll get me pretty close. here's where I'm at on that. All right. Then, today I spun the wheel to see what I would work on, and it is going to be Jack's Halloween Dream from Frosted Pumpkin. So here it is. And it's one, it doesn't show up too well because the middle one of the purples is very, very close to the fabric color in that section, unfortunately, but that's where I'm at. So I'm going to try and finish out spelling out the word Halloween. But we'll see. I need to really kind of figure out where I stopped at on this pattern. So... Hello. Alright, and then my FFO. So I framed it myself, but here is the framed finished product for my adopted grandmother. It's a little crooked. I tried everything I could to get it uncrooked, and I really couldn't. But it's framed, and I think she's going to really love it, regardless. So, there we go. Yeah. Anyhow, that's kind of it for me today. So I'm going to go, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to work on some Jack's Halloween Dream, see how far I get. And yeah. I hope everyone has a terrific week. Coming up, we're going to work on this homework and... Oh! Go! See what happens from there. So, have a great week, everyone, and I'll see y'all next week.